Hi everyone, welcome to the Stay Hungry podcast. I've got a listener warning for you. This is about to get geeky. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm really well. It was your guys come the other day, didn't they? And
Yep.
since then, it's just give us a little bit of confidence to know that we're going in the right direction a bit more. I think
Nice.
it's always nice to know external people coming in and seeing what we're doing and
Yeah.
sort of giving us feedback on just the concept.
Yeah, for sure. So, for the listeners, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so my name's James Wheeler. I'm one half of the Wellbeing Hub, which is a sort of non-clinical rehabilitation centre as such, where we help people suffering from all sorts of ailments, from like neuro disorders and cancer, and branching into COVID recovery. But also personally, I deal with a lot with the mental health side, and I'm also sort of like a mindset coach as such for like business entrepreneurs that struggle with their anxieties. But that's very much non-clinical as well.
Yeah.
We have a very non-traditional approach to how we address these like situations.
And how common is it for entrepreneurs to be suffering with anxiety?
Do you know what? It is so common, and I think people take it for granted as just being part and parcel of the process. A lots of a few of my clients come to me with sort of issues in that aspect, assuming it's business related and business related stress. And when you sort of strip it down, it's actually external factors that are affecting their mindset in terms of and preventing them progressing from their business when they think it's all just that related. I think you kind of need to be that sort of character as well to want to be like a business owner. It takes a lot of drive.
Yeah.
So,
And it's FOMO, fear of missing out. You can't
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
you can't be an entrepreneur and not really be concerned with being the best or offering the best or supporting your clients or supporting society, and that obviously carries anxiety, genuine,
Yeah.
like logical anxiety, but anxiety all the same.
Yeah. Like quite, sometimes I can be quite envious of people that just content with what they're doing
Yeah,
and the sort of 9 to 5 life. That's never been in me. In fact, it's been a massive trigger for me in the past to
yeah,
be content. Like it's led to depression. But yeah, anyone that wants to own a business, yeah, you've got to want to just consistently grow. And the dangers of that are there's going to be points where you're not growing, you're
yeah.
sort of planning, but nothing's really going anywhere.
Yeah, we talked about that when we met up, didn't we? About
Yeah.
business doesn't grow on a steady curve, it grows in steps.
Yeah.
And the plateaus are a scary place for business owners. So, have you spoken to a lot of business owners in that place?
Yeah. So, like not growing up as such, but sort of growing myself in what I'm doing now, because I've only recently started sort of pushing it as a business. So
Yeah.
I've spoke to a lot of people in the past, and it even with like with freelancers as well, you get to the point where it's always it's a strange one. It's like, oh, it's because I'm too busy that I'm not growing. It
Yeah,
seems to be they seem to find excuses about being too busy and not having the time to do work that tends to be preventing them. That seems to be the most common one.
yeah,
And it's always seems to be an external factor that seems to be affected. Like the most common one is sort of like health and body image.
yeah,
Like because that upsets them away from the business and then they lose focus. And then that in itself, like if you're down outside of your business, trying to motivate yourself while you're doing your work, you've already lost half the battle when you've woken up.
yeah, for sure. I think a lot of business owners will be able to relate to the idea of being stuck in their business rather than being able to work on their business.
Yeah.
But I think if they look at their situation with their eyes wide open in an honest way, take a step back, very often there's no need for them to be that stuck in the business. It's just that fear of relinquishing control.
Yeah, and that in itself as well, if you're a very anxious person, is so much more harder as well, because you just have these thoughts of what happens if they do this, what happens if this happens. But really, again, like we spoke about, is you've got to get to your point where you're like, do you know what, enough's enough. I'm actually doing more damage to my business if I keep holding everything to myself, because one, you can't do everything, and two, you're not as good as what you think you are when you start what you need to get done.
Yeah, I guess like our recruitment model is every time we recruit, we try and recruit someone better than ourselves at whatever the task is we're recruiting for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's easier said than done, in the sense that if there isn't an unlimited talent pool out there, but you can't just fill a business with people and then expect it to be okay. You do have to find the people that can plug the gaps. Otherwise, if you're of an entrepreneurial mindset, you're just going to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it's actually a conversation me and Neil, my business partner, had recently. It's like, right, if everything goes to plan and this grows as quick as we're hoping, we've got to employ people in our position, because we can't grow the business if we're sitting taking the client consultations and the one-to-ones. The problem that we're trying to get over is the way we do things is very unique to us. That's how sort of USP is. It's so how do we ensure that we're going to employ the right people to do what we do the way we do it, if not better? But fortunately, we do have like a talent pool that we can pick from, people that we've know and grown up with and done stuff with in the past. But it's a scary thought that when you grow, you're gonna limit that. You can only stretch that so far. So you have to go headhunt as such.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think one of the best things we've done as a business, and it's a good tip for any business, is we write a playbook. And so if we bring people in who maybe let's say I've brought someone in who's better at Facebook ads than me, they're still not going to understand the Codebreak way.
Yeah.
So the playbook plugs the gap. This is how we expect you to behave. This is our code of conduct. This is how we communicate with people. Plug your expertise into this, and that's worked really well for us.
Yeah, and I think that's something that me and Neil need to write down, but it is something we do, like in everything we do. Like even coming to you guys, it was right, you had to tick the boxes. There had to be a sort of element of humor, because we don't take things a lot seriously. At the end of the day, like we were joking about all these different things that I was watching for like over a course of a year or so that you guys were doing, and even to the point of hiring a coach or even like a massage therapist or someone who's just going to work with us part-time. They need to fit within. So like everything we do, like from marketing, you need to be able to get what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So now our next stage is put it on paper, making sure that we can sort of recite this with everybody and sort of have a ticking box sort of thing that we can do for formalities.
So what was the 5 pieces of criteria we had to fulfill to work with you?
Yeah, so definitely like being in mental health, and especially from my point of view as an sort of having social anxiety, you'd have to be like sort of approachable, sort of non-judgmental. Like you can't give, like we've met a lot of people, especially in the clinical scene, where this arrogance sort of just surrounds people sometimes, and you feel that you know better. Be open-minded. Like we're very much inclusive here as well. So we was one of the first people in Essex, especially gyms, that have been part of this transgender directory, so it's trans-friendly directory. And humour, you can't get through anything without humour. And the added bonus was the type of humour that you guys had was like that geeky, especially for me, it's like geeky Marvel sort of humour. But me and Neil are really silly at heart. Like, we were downstairs dancing to Cotton Eye Joe earlier on while we was between clients. So
I've got a story about that.
Yeah.
genuinely. But sorry, carry on.
No, it's yeah. So there had to be people that we would hang out with as such, like wouldn't be afraid to like catch a beer with, but also be able to be ourselves with. So we talk about mental health quite openly, both of us. We talk about other things, other topics that are a bit like borderline but need addressing. So we can't have anyone that's, unless it's malicious, that's different. But we can't have anyone that takes offence with the conversations we have
Sure.
because we're having them for a reason. We're not having them because like we're trying to get a point across or we're trying to act like we're knowledgeable. These are issues that need addressing. So yeah, obviously if it's in malicious content, that's different. We don't mean that, but we need people that won't take offense too easy because these are important issues. So
Yeah.
when we're talking about how sort of certain businesses are failing people in certain areas, we can't have people get their backs up because they know someone who works at that organization or they know like people that
Yeah.
have done well in that. That we're talking to it because we know firsthand this is happening, not because we're being spiteful.
Yeah. Yeah. Straight talking. And I think
Mm.
I, I talk to a lot of clients about that, and particularly people of an entrepreneurial mindset. If you can't have a straight conversation, well, one, don't work with Codebreak, but
Yeah.
but but two, it makes progress really difficult because on a mindset level, on a business level, every level, that if you can't just be honest with each other, as long as you know that that person's values are in the right place, so, and you've probably sussed that out by that point anyway, if you can't have a straight conversation where one of you might say something that maybe isn't politically correct, or one of you might say something that you don't know how to explain properly, there can't be any judgment there. That,
Yeah.
like, we don't expect our clients to know how Facebook ads work or how LinkedIn ads work. We just expect them to tell us what their objectives and their goals are, and it's up to us to know that. So for me to then turn around and be offended by the fact they're paying no attention to how the mechanics of a Facebook ad works would be ridiculous. But equally, if someone's goal is they want 10 Ferraris, I need to dig deeper into why they want 10 Ferraris, and I need to make a decision from our end if that's something we want to be involved in, or will that not really motivate our team and therefore we're not a good fit. And that kind of straight talking is sort of really, I think, really important to all business.
Yeah, and sort of it is one of the reasons that we on our discovery call with Andy as such respected that. It's like he didn't grill us, but he did ask us questions. So it was like no, and he was like questions that we've not been asked for by most people. Like, so where do you plan? Do you just like plan to just grow your client base and then increase your price? And we was like, no, hell no. Like this is going nationwide, worldwide. We're not content with just that. And then the questions spiral from there. And also, me and Neil have known each other for like 15 plus years. So we've been into business together for the last couple of years. And we have rows at the end that we don't agree with everything that we have to say. So if we took offense to everything, we probably wouldn't have even lasted when we were working together in a leisure centre.
Sure.
Like, and that's important for us as well. It's like people that you can go, do you know what? You're an idiot. You've done that wrong. Big deal. Let's just squash it, move on. Let's correct it. We had a row laying the astroturf that was here because we pulled it too hard and it folded up and neither of us would agree that we were wrong. And it was the biggest row we had in a long while. We didn't talk to each other for half a day. And then it was like, oh, do you want coffee? It's like, yeah. It's like, but it was a huge row. It was a row over astroturf.
Of all people, I had this conversation with my barber yesterday that there's a real issue in society where everything's polarized. And so it's not okay to disagree in society anymore. People have like a real issue with disagreeing with people.
Yeah.
And me and the barber, who's sort of, I mean, me and him disagree on all sorts, and I'm sure, he listens to the podcast, and Scott, it's fine, we're allowed to disagree. But,
yeah.
But we're really comfortable with disagreeing with each other. Like, he's got his opinion, I've got mine. I've openly said to him, look, some of my opinions are facts, so the fact that you disagree with them is ridiculous. And he's turned around and said, well, I don't think they are facts. And it's kind of like, I really enjoy that. And I think as an entrepreneur, that's a really important thing for a business owner, to be able to disagree with people and not be offended and not sort of dwell on it and wallow in it, but to be like, all right, well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one, but let's compromise, or let's move forward this way, or let's do this. And the media and society tells you to do different. If you disagree, you need to troll that person. If you disagree, you need to make sure it's reported to the relevant party, and it's bollocks. Like, it's okay to not have the same opinion as someone.
Yeah, and I think you can never grow, because at the end of the day, there's got to be an element of someone has to disagree with something for them to want to find a better or a more correct solution for that, whether it's political or whether it's mechanical or whether it's like, hang on, that might be as factual as it can be up to that point, but it doesn't sit right with me, so I'm now going to go do the work to either prove you wrong or prove to myself that you're right. Either way, I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's growth. Like, I had sort of this running joke with staff at the leisure centre I used to work with, and there was like, if James ever rowed with you, you were in the wrong, because I never went into an argument not being loaded with facts. So I wouldn't go to a staff member, oh, have you emptied that bin outside? And they go, yeah. And I'll be like, oh, really? And they'll go, look, often other staff members walk into the room and go, look, he knows you haven't done it, just go and do it. And things like that. So if I'm willing to like have an argument with someone, I tend to be back to facts.
Yeah.
If I'm listening to them, it's because I don't know the answer and I want them to sort of feed into me. I love to learn. I hate to be stagnant.
Yeah. I'm the same, and I love people's opinions, and I really enjoy. I really enjoy when someone has a wildly different opinion to me.
Yeah.
Because you learn so much, even when you know they're wrong. It's such an interesting moment. And you can pull so much from that. I mean, for a marketing company, it's literally like the fuel to our fire, because I can be like, well, they react entirely different to that scenario than I do. So if I was marketing to them, I need to think about this, and this. And I love that. It's a shame that people find it, there's like a blame culture, and it's like, well, it's the working class, it's the middle class, it's the aristocracy, it's the Queen's fault, it's the French's fault. And it's like, no, it isn't. Like, we've all got a part to play.
Yeah. And I think that's like, it's so damaging to everything now. Like, the reason that me and Neil are good at what we do, and we're quite proud to say, is because we've gone against the norm. Like, Neil's been classically trained as such as a neuro stroke rehabilitation trainer.
Yeah.
He's taken his training and he's adapted it, and it's his adaptations and what he's doing now that gives him the quick results and the fixed results, to the point that he even went back to the organization that he learned from the other day, and they tried to correct him, and he was like, no, you're wrong. He's like, that person is beyond that level you're trying to teach them. Like, we need to do something different. And the same with mental health. It was always, oh, X, Y, Z needs to happen for you to be diagnosed with this. And it's like, well, why are we just looking at this one factor? Why are we not looking at all these other factors? Why are we not looking at this person as an individual and trying to suss it out, and rather than pulling off the shelf traditional old ways out and trying to like help this person this way? Why are we not addressing their actual issues that they're having at the moment and dealing with that? And that's where my sort of expertise come in, and Neil's, and we've mashed them together to create what we're doing at the hub. And it is, and we joke about how we're always annoying people, we're always pissing people off, like the council, the people that we like work with, all the governments and new organizations that we work with, they're always like, that's not the way you do it. So we're like sod you, we'll go do it by ourselves. And that's got us in trouble. Like, trying to grow the business is hard when you're trying to do it upstream. But it's worth it. Every time we get a success, it's worth it. It's like, do you know what? We're proving to everyone that we were right in the first place.
Yeah. And I think that's another entrepreneurial type attitude of like, just like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. So watch me. And like, I don't know if you've seen the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix.
No, I've not got around to it, but is it on one list?
Every episode in it, they find a point where he's like, and this time it was personal. And it's just like every time someone tells him he can't do something, it motivates him to do it. And then even when those scenarios don't occur, he will find something to annoy him to fire him up to achieve.
Yeah.
So he would wait for someone on the court to like give him a bit of stick. And like, well, this time it was personal, and then it's just so funny. But I love that. Right, I promised the listeners geekiness, and we've been really serious up to now. We've talked about anxiety, suicide, depression, stroke rehab, and genuinely, if you or a loved one needs support with that kind of thing, the Wellbeing Hub is the place to look. If they can't help you, you guys will point people in the right direction, I'm sure.
100%.
So,
That signposting is so important.
So, anyway, enough of the serious stuff. Who is your favourite superhero?
Right, I want to, before I answer, I'm going to address this. Before it was famous, he was my favorite, like most favorite superhero. Okay. And that is Deadpool. Like before Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
To the point that I even had, like, my wedding was Marvel themed, believe it or not.
No way.
Yep, my wife allowed it. She was good as gold. So it was all, if you looked from the outside, you wouldn't have noticed. But if you looked at the table plans, they were all legitimate Marvel wedding themed front covers from all Marvel.
I'm so far
comics.
out of my depth in this conversation.
And then yeah, all the groomsmen, including myself, had a special Marvel mask, and I was Deadpool. And I even got to take pictures with Rachel in like a really fancy setting with a Deadpool mask on. The photographer was really cool about it.
Why?
So yeah, so Deadpool proves to Ryan Reynolds purely because the fourth wall breaking and his humour. He doesn't take.
So what was your first exposure to Deadpool? Because I'll tell you mine. It was the X-Men cartoon in the 90s. Where they wore the yellow outfits. So pre-X-Men films sort of thing. But comic books weren't really accessible to me where I lived. So what about you?
Yeah, it was probably when like comic books started to go digital.
Okay.
And like I remember I had one of the Microsoft Surface Pro things where you can turn it and it make it look like a book. And
okay. I
started getting into like sort of books and graphic novels. I was always into graphic novels. So I remember it was Deadpool kills in Marvel Universe. And it was basically his psychosis has got too much and he knew he was a comic book and he went around trying to fix the problem. And it actually ended with a couple of blank pages because he found the writers of his own comic book.
Oh, that's crazy.
So yeah, and all like the Infinity Wars before it was a film. So when it was that big shock horror, Thanos click fingers, I already knew it was happening, but I was just glad it happened the way it did. So
okay, that's cool. So who's your favourite from the film universe?
I think obviously they've done Deadpool really well.
Yeah.
I think there's like a theory about it was actually written for Ryan Reynolds previously because they share both the same birthday. They both come from Vancouver, etc. But do you know what? I think it's got to be traditional. Like Tony Stark, I don't think you could portray him any other way, really. If you look at the comics and the cartoons, it is that same Playboy-esque style, cheekiness about him.
Yeah, I guess because I used to watch the Iron Man cartoon. I'd say he was. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is suave, so I don't know why I'm going to say this, but the cartoon Tony Stark was. There was a little bit more class about him than Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. But
it was less humour when it was more like rich entrepreneur, billionaire, less Playboy.
Yeah,
sort of about him. But
I still wouldn't change it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So who's? I'm so far out of my depth now. I'm just completely thrown by your wedding situation. What? The groomsmen, what other characters were there? There was Deadpool.
So I was Deadpool. We had Wolverine. We had Iron Man was my little nephew. We had Captain America. And so there's one more. Spider-Man.
Cool. See, Wolverine and the Punisher are my favourites.
Wolverine is my stepdad's favorite. It was when we used to watch the X-Men comics together, or like the cartoons together as well. That used to be quite a regular thing we used to do. Yeah.
I mean,
And
this is a niche podcast now, so we might as well go there.
And then obviously we got into cinema, and we used to spend like weekends going to the cinema together, and we've seen all the MCU. So I'm looking forward to showing my son when he's older, just showing him the MCU.
So I obviously, I'm not the uninitiated. I'm aware the X-Men films and the Wolverine films are not strictly Marvel films as such. But I think there's a strong argument that Logan is one of the best comic book films ever made. It's unreal.
Yeah. It's intense, and I think they missed the trick there of sort of expanding that. Like, you have the story of Old Man Logan, and it goes further into like the Hulk thing, like Hulk takes over the planet sort of thing. So they missed the trick there. So maybe they might go back to
I wonder if that's an option for them, because they've not been able to explore the Hulk character anything like how they wanted to.
No.
And you just think, will they do that? Especially with the multiverse, why they can just do whatever they want now. So,
and with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman winding each other up all the time, it'd be a shame. Like, the other story arc that I was a little bit gutted they didn't sort of explore was the Thanos Deadpool death love triangle.
So, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so basically, like, that comic, Deadpool gets his like regenerative abilities from like Thanos, because every time he kept dying, he kept chatting up Death, and Thanos and Death was in love with each other. So basically, there was a beef there. So he's like, right, you can't die anymore, so you can't chat up my girlfriend. Go away, sort of thing.
Oh, I see. That's quite cool. Is this a really bad time to admit that I'm a DC guy? Is that gonna
it's all right, Joe. We have met you now. I'll accept it. It's like I have to accept Neil's a Tottenham fan, so it's fine.
Hang on, who do you support? You're gonna say Arsenal now, aren't you?
No, I'm not. Do you know what? I'm more into American football, but my stepdad's West Ham. I picked Newcastle when I was young because I didn't know where Newcastle was in the country. I know why American football more than football.
You picked Newcastle because Faustino Asprilla played for them, I reckon.
100%. That is the correct answer. No one's ever guessed it. Do you know
Easy.
What? No one.
I'm plugging you and I are a similar age, and I reckon Faustino Asprilla did that backflip, and you're like, that's the team for me.
Yep. 100%. No one's ever guessed that.
Everyone goes Alan Shearer, and I'm like, nah, this isn't an Alan Shearer.
Everyone thought, why Newcastle is that far? I was like, I hadn't a clue where Newcastle was when I picked it, but those Asprilla flips, that was it, and that's what actually got me to Newcastle.
Yeah.
I want to watch that.
I remember at that kind of age, a lot of kids like Newcastle because of Asprilla. Quite a few kids like Spurs because of Ginola. And then or Man United because of Cantona. And it was sort of before Man United were mega successful. It was just purely based on these cool personalities in the clubs. A bit like superheroes, really. So, I'm a DC guy. Batman's my jam.
I had massive respect for Batman and Joker.
But it's been a disgraceful time for DC at the cinema. So I can't defend it. I try and like it, and I just can't. I'm excited about the Robert Pattinson Batman. I think that'll be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't understand Batman vs Superman, a Justice League film. Just no. And I thought Ben Affleck was a great choice, just executed terribly. So
yeah, and and again they miss. They missed like the sort of elements from the comic book that make it like really dark and gritty. And they tried to make it sort of for everyone, but it's not DC. Yeah. He's supposed to be.
Batman's meant to be addicted to drugs at that point. He's literally like filling himself full of steroids and painkillers to get over the years of abuse on his body. And
and what he does to Superman in the comics, that Batman vs Superman, is criminal. It's cruel. It's like you wouldn't get away with that, and it's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame. Like, I enjoy the darkness of the DC comics, but at the moment, I'm also enjoying the humor of the films as well. They've put a bit more humor into the film, like slapstick into the films of DC.
Yeah, Zack Snyder, I just can't get into it. I'm trying, but it doesn't rub with me at all, and it's all really like, I love the Nolan films, and I think that caused them a lot of trouble, really, because it was a bit like the Blade films. The first two Blade films were so gritty and serious that when they tried to make Blade a bit lighter and a bit more like the comic, everyone was like, what the hell's this? And they're probably like Netflix, the stuff Netflix have done with Daredevil and Punisher and the others. I can't remember, the one that really annoys me. I can't remember its name now, but they're quite gritty, and now they've passed back to Disney. I think there's a bit of an issue there, but I'm also reading Daredevil's going to be in the latest Spider-Man, so who knows?
Yeah, here's a fun fact. My my gamer tag and original email address was based on the villain from the Blade 2 movie, No Machiavellian.
Wow.
The Reaper.
Yeah,
I enjoy the film so much.
The guy whose mouth opens like a creepy. Yeah. See, I do know. See, I like as a kid, and I definitely wasn't old enough, but the opening scene in Blade where he goes into the blood rave in the abattoir, I just thought that was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I thought the music was cool. I thought the film, like, I didn't even understand what cinematography was then, but I was like, this is just unbelievable. It's so cool. But then, Blade's coming back, but I think it might be a bit of a gentle version this time. So
yeah, there's not many films start off with Rammstein playing in the background.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for it. Right, have you got any questions for me before we wrap up?
Do you know what? Not so much. I don't think to be honest, I was just really glad to sort of see the way you guys operate firsthand as well.
Yeah.
So, like anybody like debating on whether to work with you guys, like definitely like help. I'm plugging you now on your own podcast.
Love it. Carry on.
Just like book a discovery call. Like we've spoke to Andy a few times now, and we spoke to you a few times, and it's just human. It's nice to have that connection. We've talked to some people where it just feels like it goes through the process.
Yeah.
Of, like I was just like, even through like an accountancy, we went through about 5 accountants before we finally with the one we are, and we didn't even like do anything with them. Just purely the way they messaged us back, contacted us, sent their sort of like prices across. It was very inhuman.
Yeah.
So that's what we sort of loved about you. And when you come down and got what we was all about as well, like we didn't need to explain the basics of what we wanted and what we're doing. You sort of got that straight away, and then we just added to it, and it just seemed to work. And to be fair, we're so looking forward to seeing what you guys do. It's unreal.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, even just now you've talked about COVID recovery, and that's got the cogs whirring for me because, strange situation. I'm not sure if I've had COVID or not, but I was so ill in March last year before it all blew up and everyone knew what was going on. Collapsed in the gym, and I've been relatively breathless ever since. And I've seen loved ones and friends who have really been beaten up by COVID, and I think there's going to be this massive gap in society. Not a gap in society, but there's going to be this massive gap where there's people who are suffering the long-term effects of COVID, and no one's really talking about it. They're
like sort of scared at the moment. There's studies going on about the effects of long COVID, and we've seen enough people. Like we're very cautious. We get tested regularly. We still wear our masks when we're outside, etc. Because we work with so vulnerable people. But the people that we know that have had COVID, it's respiratory that seems to be the main issue.
Yeah.
And like to turn this thing a whole circle as such, because me and Neil actually have PT and nutrition backgrounds, we can see the the sort of trends
Yeah.
in both mental health and physical health in everything that we do. So we're noticing these symptoms early on, and we're able to compare them to like cardiac rehab to COVID, like sort of long COVID rehab is very similar.
Yeah.
And so why are they not rolling this stuff out? Like, if we can notice it, two little like guys in a little hub can notice it. Why are people that in power not that have got the brains behind them and not going, right, we're going to trial this out?
Yeah.
And I think they're too scared to do anything that's going to possibly put them in a bad light at the moment. But yeah, definitely the one symptom that we've noticed that's very frequent to everyone is a sort of cardiovascular sort of relapse. People are less, they're more breathless.
Yeah.
They're struggling to do as much cardio as they used to. And then they're trying to go straight into those levels rather than ease back into it. So that's definitely something we've noticed with long COVID.
Yeah, for sure. So how do people get in touch with you?
So through your new beautiful website that you guys have done.
Yeah, that's a good start. Yeah.
Yeah. So the wellbeinghub.me, our Instagram, which is the Wellbeing Hub UK, or if they want to get directly into touch with me, it's the Fitness and Mind Coach.
Yep.
And Neil is Neil Heppel stroke rehabilitation.
Catchy one. Neil.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. The problem is when he shortens it, it says NHS.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, so I was like, you got to be careful with that one.
It's been awesome chatting to you. Thanks for coming on the Stay Hungry podcast.
Yeah, and you. Thanks very much.